a fantastic, beautiful woman to share with you today. She and I've never met before this moment, but I've been reading all that she's been posting on LinkedIn, and I think she is definitely what I would define as beautiful. And it
Oh,
seems like it's innate. And so today I am so grateful to her that I have the opportunity to share her with you. And her name is Cortney Hicks, and
hmm.
she is a news anchor for WFXG Fox 54. And I'm excited.
Oh,
Courtney, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
thank you. I have to call, I give everybody a nickname. You are Lady J, just the elegance and the warmth and the pageantry of who and what you are. I did a little reading and digging too on LinkedIn, and it's always good to link with like-minded folks. And anytime somebody reaches out and wants to hear what I have to say, I definitely don't take that for granted. So I'm glad to be here.
Oh, and I'm so glad you're here because I believe that we are supposed to promote each other.
That's
I
right.
feel like there's so much competitiveness between people. Everybody wants to be the best. And I
Mhm,
believe you become the best by
mhm.
helping others to become their best.
Absolutely.
And so when I see, especially women like myself who are trying to make a difference in the world,
Hmm.
I want to help them, I want to share
Hmm.
them, and I want others to see the value that they're bringing to the world.
Indeed, indeed.
And when I saw that you work for Fox, I'm like, I really, really, really want to interview her
Yeah.
because our world, our country is so divided.
Hmm.
There are people who are on the far right or the far left, and very
Hmm.
few people who are in the middle.
Right.
And so this is affecting our news and everything else, our relationships on many different
That's right.
levels.
Hmm.
And especially during the election
Mm.
time, it was so much more evident. Some people will
Hmm.
not turn Fox on, some
Hmm.
people will not turn CNN or
Right.
MSNBC because
Hmm.
it was a visible slant either way.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I wanted to start by asking you, what is it like as a news anchor,
Hmm.
knowing that some people think the news you are reporting is biased one way? Does that
Yeah.
affect you?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people are not really familiar with how this thing works. So there is, of course, a Fox network, right? And then there are what we call Fox affiliates. And those Fox affiliates that you see across the country, I used to work for a Fox affiliate in Charlotte. It was Fox 46. I work for one now in Augusta, Georgia. It's Fox 54. They're separate entities from the Fox network. So there's a Fox 5 in DC, there's a Fox 32 in Chicago. And so I know it's hard to understand, but they are really separate entities. I'm owned by a totally different company, with some of the same philosophies and some, of the different philosophies. But here we try not to slant one way or the other. Our objective is just, accuracy, and the truth, and as many facts from both sides that we can give. But I do see how that could be confusing for people. Some of the Fox affiliates that you see across the country are owned by the Fox network, but most of them are owned by individual companies, and a lot of times the tone and the look and the way they go about giving the news, is a direct reflection of the philosophy, of that company. Some companies lean a little bit more conservative, others lean a little bit more liberal, and that is why you have such diversity even, under what appears to be the same roof or labeling as far as that whole Fox affiliate is concerned. So, for me personally, I really don't get caught up in, or try not to get caught. Of course, I have my personal feelings about, different stories and different issues that are happening and ongoing. But when it comes to just giving the news, giving the information, making sure it's up to date, making sure, I localize it and make sure it fits the lifestyle and what my particular viewer will want to know. I do my best to stay, in the middle. Nowadays, it's a little tougher because, there's social media and you can, kind of personally express how you feel. But even with that, I have to be a little careful so I can, stay middle ground. But, here's the deal. We are very divided, unfortunately, and I am a Black woman in America. And so I'm going to have feelings about what I'm going to have feelings about. And I think for me, the battle is to, staying true to myself versus or trying to be in harmony with, and all the many headlines that even I find disturbing, and all the issues and the different ways that people think about it and process it. So so there's rarely a connection to the Fox network that you see with all the wonderful people on that, and what you see at a local Fox station in your particular city. Yeah.
So people who are less informed, and there are a lot of people who do not take the time to research anything. They like they align themselves with a particular group, or a particular network, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever they hear, they just grab it and they run with it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, because the thing is, some people believe you're guilty by association.
That's
So
right.
the fact that you work for a network that has a particular name, and there's no judgment from me either way,
Mm-hmm.
because I think people are entitled to their prerogative and to their
Mm-hmm.
own philosophies, and they
Mm-hmm.
choose those for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still find the fact that you have that name Fox associated with where you work, that it has alienated you with people around you?
No, I don't
Oh,
think so,
good.
because at least not, from the inside looking out, there might be, a different perspective from the outside, looking in. I know for me, when I do my newscast is at 6:30, 10, and 11. And I know for me, the best I can do is show up as who I am. And I mean, it's apparent that when you turn on television, I'm Black. But even furthermore, I am a woman, and then I am a news anchor that is here to educate, entertain, and inform. And so I really lean into that. And the backside of the news is very mechanical. So we don't necessarily we just give the news and the facts and what happened, the when, the where, the why. And there's not a lot of opinion. There's not an opinion piece or an opinion segment that happens. We're right to the next story. So even if we have personal opinions, those are something that are discussed, off mic, off air, maybe in the newsroom, because you have to be careful with the
Right.
diverse newsroom, and people have their different affiliations and backgrounds and religious beliefs and things of that nature. So that's going to be really the biggest difference, is that a lot of times when you turn on the Fox network, a lot of times those are talk shows or opinion-based shows, where you're watching those shows because you buy in or you believe the philosophy either of that network or the philosophy of that particular host. And that is why, you watch. No different from, people have favorites on MSNBC. So they'll buy into what that host is all about. They have favorites on CNN, the BBC, BET, the Black, news channel. I mean, I could just go on and on and on with the different news outlets and why people have a tendency to, plug into some and not plug in to others. But as far as me, just, individually speaking, because it's really just, formulating and then disseminating the news and the information of the day, we don't really get caught up in that black and white or that blue and red, because we don't put, it's not opinion based news, if you will.
But also sometimes I watch the news and you guys, you are given the news and you're told to report what you're given. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't always judge someone reporting the news because it doesn't necessarily mean that what they are reporting
Or
is
reflects,
in
right?
alignment with their own philosophies. But
True,
it's their job and they have to do it.
true. That's true.
If I were a reporter, I would be caught because my face would give me away if I'm saying
You know,
something I don't believe.
I've had to work. My background is radio, where we can be, even though we may not be seen as much, we can be
Right.
very expressive. So I had to watch it. I've had to watch it because, you know, sometimes it's just human nature.
Mhm.
Sometimes, you know, it's just disbelief, and, you
Right.
know, I have to kind of continue with this space and report it and then move on from it. But you're right, I do every now and again, unless it's a lighter ended story, and you can laugh and give the opinions and give the facial expressions. But, you know, as of late this year and some change, there has been some very, very heavy headlines. You know, some that directly affect me more than others.
Right.
And, you know, admittedly, so it's sometimes a struggle to report and move through those stories with this very unbiased energy, if you will, in all honesty. So that's the struggle, that's the challenge. But I think for the most part, as we're all always on a learning curve and ever evolving, my hope is that I get better with that night to night.
My dream is that this world will get to a place where we could agree to disagree and still love and respect each other.
That's right. That's
I
right.
don't know why, as humans, some of us are so trained to think if you don't share my view, something is wrong with you, and then I want to
Right.
kill you. I mean,
Right.
I saw so much of this during the election. It was really bothering me. And
Mm-hmm.
people that I was very close to, that I loved and trusted, were bullying me because I didn't see things their way. And it really
Yeah.
made me sad.
Yeah.
So tell me about Courtney. How did you know this is what you wanted to do? So many people have goals and dreams and they work very hard at it and
Mm-hmm.
they don't achieve what they're working toward. And it's not because they're not working. So, what do you think is the difference? What separates those of us from who get to do what we want to do and those who keep trying and don't?
Well, I can only speak on it from, you know, my filter, and for me, it's all spiritually based. You know, it's about you know, being grounded in you know, God and his promises, you know, and those dreams and desires that you know, he has put on my heart. And sometimes I even hesitate to use the pronoun he, because you know, it just limits who and what God is all about. You know, it's you know, it's an omnipresent kind of a thing. It's a relationship that has been sealed for the ages, and regardless of, you know, how much you tap into it or not, it will always be there for you. So my choice has been to always tap in, stay tapped in, plugged in, and to lead with that. But with that comes a lot of earthly challenges, and so you know, you have to you know, you have to faith it. You have to know that there are going to be some challenges. There is going to be some suffering, but it all comes to, you know, develop that character, and to you know, reposture and reposition you and put you in places that you know, maybe you just, you know, needed help to get to, whether you want to call it a favor or an anointing or a calling, or being chosen, if you will. So for me, it starts spiritually based, but then you want to lay some action on top of that. So that's going to be, you know, schooling, you know, what, you know, training, whatever it is you need to marriage that belief with. And then you know, you just have to do the work. There's a process, you know. You know, I love the younger generation. I just turned 50 at the top of the year. I have a couple of younger brothers. I work with millennials and Gen Zs every single day. And the only thing that really is a bit off-putting is A lot of times they want to skip the process,
Hmm.
and just about everything you need to learn, everything you need to gather, everything that is going to shape you, for the most part, is in the it's in the journey.
Yeah.
It's in the process, and everybody is so fixed on the destination that I think, even when you do get there, if you haven't allowed yourself to go through some kind of process, you can't, that you can't show up in the destination as best, as you probably could if you were to allow yourself to go through some things. I've always known that I was just going to be in front of people talking, entertaining in some fashion. My studies reflected that, and the opportunities I took advantage of reflected that. This is way before the technology and the social media, so you had to go and check in with your dean at your school of choice as far as your major. And I saw a listing with an internship, and took part in that. And about a little less than 2 years later, I'd gone from East Lansing, Michigan. I went to Michigan State University to, doing radio in Chicago. So I think I found a flow very early. Now, there have been times in my life when, I've gone against that flow, gone against maybe the direction that I should have stayed in. But it all, because I was able to, pull myself back, if you will. I always got back into a flow. But I don't want to make this seem like it's some kind of, Disneyland, trip, or some kind of, magical. And it can be those things, but it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of rejection. And you just have to know that, out of all of those many no's, it's just that one yes that you need. And when you get that yes, you got to be ready. You got to be prepared and ready. And so that, pretty much in a nutshell, is my foundation. And then you layer onto that foundation in regards to just skill set, education, experience, life experience, networking, and it's step by step. It's really is step by step. And so I look up, and now I got about almost 25 plus years of broadcasting experience behind me. And I'm looking forward to see if I can fit in another 25 years now that I've switched from, the radio lane and into the TV, and we'll see what that births, if you will.
Are you going to ever do radio again? Or are you finished with radio completely?
I still do radio. It is definitely the platform, upon which I was able to, start building.
Yeah.
So I just do it just part-time. I have a radio show still in the Texas area. And then when you've, done that for so many years, you just have friends and connections. And so, when I was making that very hard shift from radio to television, a lot of calls. I got calls from great cities, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas. And so I just felt like it was a bit tempting, but I decided to, stick to the promise of wanting to move into doing something different. Sometimes you get a little comfortable, because I had been doing radio for so long. I could do it with my eyes closed. It wasn't challenging me in the way that I needed to be challenged. And so I could have took the easy way out and went to one of those cities and did very well, but I wanted something different. So, made the sacrifice to move down here, making much less than I'm accustomed to making. But I do believe that, all of that will come back tenfold once this assignment is complete.
I love your attitude.
Thank you.
Now, so many young women and men, they see your job as such a glamorous job. And a lot of people would love to work in television and be a reporter and anchor.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone this is their dream? Because nothing is all wonderful. There has to be a challenging side. I don't want to say negative, but I prefer the word challenging.
Challenging,
because what people see is they look and they just see the fun part. So what would you say to that person? Not to deter them, but so that they have a real open mind about what they are getting into.
Sure. Well, when you turn on the news at night and you see those folks for about a half an hour, or you see that reporter for about a minute and a half, there's a whole day's work. Many, many hours that have gone into that little bit of time that we spend, with you in the evening. And that's what a lot of people don't see. No different from, how every Sunday, we're ready for our big matchup, whatever game is on, football game is on, a basketball game is on. But what you don't see is, the moments leading up to that moment, all the practices, all the, injuries, all the studying, all the, training that happens. And so what you really see is like the finished product and the highlights of all of the work. So it's a hustle, it's a grind in the very beginning, especially for reporters. There's not a lot of money. So you really have to be dedicated and you really have to be passionate and know that you're going to put in about 8 to 10 hours of work just for like maybe a minute segment. But that is just how this industry is structured. And there's definitely a flip side. We're starting the football season, and so tonight is going to be a very long night. I get to work about 2:30. This is Eastern time, and we go to about midnight. We have 3 shows. But tonight our show is preempted by football, the preseason. And so we have to wait until that football game is over. So we probably won't get out of there until maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, because legally we have to air a broadcast. And if that football game isn't finished until 11:30, you best believe we're still there. So, there's these little things that sometimes you don't think about. And
Yeah.
Your life still continues, and you might run to the grocery store and you might be in a rush, or you might be having a sucky day and somebody catches you and maybe you don't wave the right way or you don't say hi back, and it's different from how they perceive you on the television. And then you're caught up in this, who you say you are. And so there are some challenges, but all in all, it is very rewarding. It is very demanding. And that's why those who are at the top get paid what they get paid.
I bet. So I have a veteran Fox 2 News reporter friend who recently retired. And he told me, Jenny, you should think long and hard if you want to get into this field of work. And I said, why? He goes, because when you're first starting out, if there's a story with a monkey in a tree somewhere in the snow, you have to go and climb that tree with that monkey to get the story.
Yes.
And it's
He's
just you and
right.
your camera person. So
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
okay, not for me, because I'm not climbing any tree.
Right. It is a grind. It's a hustle. It's a dig. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Yeah.
On the really tough days, what keeps you going?
On the really tough days, what keeps me going? It is knowing that even this tough day is a part of the climb. Even this tough day is a part of the bigger picture. And sometimes you have to know when to step back and just be the observer to get you through that tough day and just let those things pass on by. And some days, if not most, you have to be the participant and really get in there and make those things happen. But even on the tough days, some good flavored coffee and or tea, and maybe something really good for dinner to help, because we do have a dinner break, we can leave, and something really good for dinner. Food always helps. But again, spiritually speaking, it's just pulling up, knowing that this is just one day out of many. And that it's the struggle and those darker days are all a part of it. And you can't let that little 24 hours poison, if you will, the days to come. So yeah, that's how I kind of see it. It's easier said than done, because sometimes you have some days you're like, the hell with all of this, but you maintain, you make it through. Yeah.
I just love your attitude.
Thank you.
So you people that work at these desks, reporting the news around the world, whichever network you're affiliated with, you've had to report sometimes some very emotional stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you keep your emotions? Like if some person you really love has died suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a Princess Diana story. How do you keep your emotions out of your reporting? Yeah. Is that challenging?
It can be, depending on your tie to the story. A lot of the entertainers and celebrities and notables that we're losing now. I definitely remember, whether it be, a child or a young adult or somebody, very grown now. And there's just the significance of who they were and their influence. And now with them, moving on to another realm and not being here with us in the physical, that's a huge adjustment to not, see those faces as much as you're used to seeing. I think this pandemic has really lifted the veil. And I think, well, I hope that people are operating from more of an authentic, organic place in their lives, because the way that this virus has stripped us all down, no matter, color, creed, wealth, no wealth, whatever the case may be, we are all susceptible to what this virus, how this virus has really changed our lives. And so I think emotion and showing a little bit more of emotion, I think is welcomed. It allows people to see your vulnerability. And I think it adds to your relatability. And I think it's a good thing when people know that, while you're rattling off COVID-19 numbers and new cases and people who have unfortunately succumbed to this virus, I think it's good to know that, I wanted my viewers to know that I had family members who I had lost, that these weren't just numbers for me either. I mean, so I was reporting all this COVID stuff with a dying aunt back at home, who I couldn't see, who I couldn't talk to, who my cousins, their mother, couldn't touch and kiss before they were saying goodbye. So as I was running these stories, I was experiencing this myself. And and if I got a little emotional or you heard a crack in my voice, at that point, I'm human. And so I don't think that, would be held against me or any colleagues. As a matter of fact, I think because of this pandemic and what we've been through, it has really, brought about situations where you see reporters and anchors who have become very emotional and much more and desensitized. And it's not just this, hello, I'm an anchor. It's,
yeah.
I'm a real person and I'm bothered too, or I'm a real person and I'm angry too, or I'm a real person and COVID has turned my life upside down as well. So, no qualms about that. If it's an emotional story, it's an emotional story. Ahmaud Arbery, that his family lives right up the way. That area in Georgia was not too far. That was tough. That was very, very tough. So, especially when you're interviewing other young men who now were afraid to go jogging in their neighborhood. So, I think the emotional side of it is not a bad thing. I think if anything, it just brings some humility and a humanistic aspect to your reporting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear so much about Black people being discriminated against.
Mm-hmm.
As a Black woman in television, have you experienced any of that? And if you
Um,
have, is it still happening?
I think race is a huge issue, and I think it will continue to be a huge issue until we decide to really have a dialogue that, first of all, will acknowledge what has happened, and what continues to happen. I mean, it's just about honesty and openness and integrity. And I think at this point, there's no way that, what a particular group of people, what they've been subjected to, I don't know if you can ever repay that back or restore that. But what you can do from this point on is acknowledge it, acknowledge that it did happen, acknowledge that it continues to happen. And what can we do to level the playing field, in all aspects, whether it be education, economics, and go from there. It's a slippery slope. It's a moving target. Have I experienced blatant racism? I'm sure I have. Nowadays it's so neatly disguised and packaged, and
I
but
like that.
yeah, have there been times when I felt like Color has been a factor, good, bad, or indifferent. Absolutely. Am I more apt to lead with color? It depends. It depends on the situation. Sometimes I do need to lead with I'm a Black woman. Sometimes I need to lead with I'm a woman. Sometimes I need to lead with I'm a human, So I think different situations call for, different filters or an adjustment to, your filter. And you kind of go from there. But I believe in treating people the way you want to be treated. I believe that I think there used to be like 6 degrees of separation. I think there may just be maybe like 1, if less than that. And so, you never know who you are going to, meet and then come back around and come circle to. And so you just have to stay conscious and aware of that. And, if I can be a part of the conversation to have the conversation, the honest conversation, then I definitely would raise my hand and volunteer, because there's so much to talk about,
That's a separate topic. And so we are out of time, but before I wrap, I always ask all of my guests, what would they like to leave? What's the message for someone watching this segment that you want to leave with them?
Yeah. That love wins. Love absolutely wins. And when you think about love, it's so applicable in regards to every area and aspect of your life that is absolutely connected. Professional, the spiritual, the physical, the relational aspect of your life. And just, lead with love. And that starts with, self-love. And then, what you want to do is understand that it's all within. And it starts within, and then you radiate those qualities out, and that is how you attract what it is you want in your life. And so I think if people can understand that a little bit more and become a lot more internal versus this external thinking and filter that we use, and start with self, I think we'll all be a little better off as it relates to being in relation with one another.
Thank you so much.
And you're welcome so much.
Just said is how I described you in the beginning. I see you, from what I've experienced since you've been on my LinkedIn, is love. Oh. And so I am so clearly you are a person of integrity, and you're living what you're messaging. And so I thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share you with my viewers. And I hope somewhere down the road we can do this again.
Absolutely. I've got to come to the West Coast and hang out with Lady J.
You have to come. You're welcome. Just let me know when you're ready, and you have a place to stay as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, beautiful. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you more on LinkedIn and maybe in person sometime soon. We'll pray this virus away and do what we have to do to fight through it, and we'll be able to come and see each other and hug each other again. We just have to really hold on to that hope. Yeah.
And I thank you. I thank you very, very much. And I thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn, when a conversation is all you need to be inspired. And if this bombshell has not inspired you, you are sleeping. And I just want to reiterate her message that it's all about love, and we should all try to practice unconditional love. Yes. And we will have a better world. And I will see you next time with another fascinating person. Thank you.